slug lines are required in a script, but bold, not bold, underline, not underline, bold and underline, normal, how do I format this? So we're gonna just break that down really quickly today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking if you're finding value. Subscribe if you haven't done that. Be sure to check out resources below. We're trying to do this one really quick, so we're just jumping in. I do have another video where I go into slug lines and kind of what to include, how to do them, all that kind of stuff. I'll link that up here, so be sure to check that out if you haven't seen that. This one, we're just talking about how to format it. So we're literally just talking about just a very simple thing, but a lot of people ask, should I bold it? Should I not bold it? What about underlining or normal or all those things? So we're gonna deal with those pretty quickly. And if you've not heard the term slug line before, here's what it is. A slug line is essentially what some people will like to call a scene heading. I try to not use that. Those are kind of interchangeable terms, but I really try to use the word slug line for this reason. A scene can extend beyond a location indicator, and that's really what we're talking about. So it's the interior, exterior, Bob's house, day. That's a slug line, all right? But a lot of people will call them scene headings or something like that. The problem is you might have a scene at Bob's house. It might extend across different slug lines as one scene. So yes, sometimes I will call them scene headings, but normally I try to refer to them as slug lines because it's easier to just kind of conceptually think of them as different things. There's a scene which might have multiple slug lines, it might have one slug line. So think about it like that. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about slug lines. A slug line does include interior, exterior, it includes a location, it includes time of day. Again, I've got a video, I'll link it again. So there it is. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out. That will explain slug lines a little bit more in detail. Okay, but how do you format it? So here are the options you have available. There's the normal way of formatting, which is just all caps, and there's usually a space or a half a space above the slug line just to kind of break it up from what's above in the script. It just kind of spreads things out a little bit, and you do kind of want something to spread it out a little bit. Now, older scripts used to not do that. It was just like here and then hit return, and then on the next line it's this and this line. It was a little hard to kind of read, so they started adding a little more space in, plus it helps with white space on the page. So normally there's an extra space, or at least an extra half a space above a slug line to just kind of separate a little bit. So you can choose to not format it beyond that at all. It could just be all caps. There you go. Another option is to bold it. So you just take your slug line and you make it in bold. And that also helps break it up from what else is going on in the script. So maybe you don't have that extra space above the slug line, but you're bolding it. So yes, you can kind of fit more in your script. It's impacting the white space, but it's bolded, so it helps break up the page. Another option is to underline it. So some people will just write the slug line and it's normal and they'll underline it, or they'll write it in bold and underline it. So you can do underlining, you can do bolding, you can do the normal. Those are all just fine. But here's a couple of things you need to be aware of. One, underlining is often used in scripts to kind of emphasize something. So if you are using underlining anywhere in your script to emphasize something, I'd recommend you probably not underline your scene headings, because it will take away from the emphasis you're wanting to create later on the thing. Underlining is typically used for emphasis in dialogue. So in the dialogue box, if you want to emphasize a word, you can kind of underline it. That's typically where it gets used. If you're not using those and you want to underline your slug lines, underline your slug lines. Nobody's going to kick your script because you've got your slug line bolded or underlined or anything like that. Here's what I tend to do when I write a feature, when I'm working on a feature, my slug lines are just normal. I've got some extra space. That's it. If I'm writing a TV pilot, I tend to bold my slug lines only because it's just a visual indicator and reminder to me of, hey, this is a TV script, not a feature film. So that's just something that I do. But the main thing you do need to do within one script, so you're writing your one script, with however you format your slug lines, you need to be consistent throughout. So if you start bolding them, bold all of them. If you're underlining them, underline all of them. If it's all normal, then normal all of them. Don't go back and forth. That's what might upset somebody or frustrate a reader, because they're like, I don't understand, this person is inconsistent, and that's more the problem. So you just want to be consistent, but you can do in any of these, it's going to be just fine. I told you this was going to be short. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. If it has, please be sure to like, subscribe, bell, all that. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. There's some links below. Be sure to check those out. When you tell a story, yes, be consistent with your slug lines, but tell a story that matters. See you later.